Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, he says the ghaybah of the qa'im shall be prolonged so much, such that most of the people who used to believe in him, they will no longer believe in him. They will lose that iman. They will say, where is he? If he was there, he would have appeared by now. Then the Imam says, Allah will test you, O Shia. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will test you. You will capsize just as a ship capsizes into the water. Have you seen the ship? How it turns and sinks and capsizes? He says this is what will happen to the Shia. One day a man came to Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, and he told him, Wallah inni la uhibbukum. I swear by Allah, I love you, O Imam, O Ahlulbayt. You know what Ali ibn Abi Talib told him in this hadith? He told him, if that is so, فَاسْتَعَدَّ لِلْبَلَاءِ أَوْ لِلْفَقْرِ جِلْبَابًا. He says, if you really want to be amongst our followers, then brace yourself, prepare yourself, for you will have to wear the garment of bala, the garment of difficulties, the garment of trials and tribulations. We have to brace ourselves, we have to prepare ourselves. This is one type of test. The second type of test during the time of the ghaybah is the loss of having access directly to the Imam alayhi salam. And I tell you, for the true believers, one of the most difficult tests is to be disconnected from the Imam of your time. Not to have the privilege of seeing him, of going to him, of asking him. In explaining this verse, Al-Imam Al-Kadhim alayhi salam, قُلْ إِنْ أَصْبَحَ مَاءُكُمْ غَوْرًا فَمَنْ يَأْتِيكُمْ بِمَاءٍ مَعِينٍ. The Quran says in one verse, say that if your water, if you're short on water, if the wells go dry, if the water sources of this world, they go dry, then who can bring you pure water? Other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? The Imam alayhi salam says this is a reference to the qa'im and the ghaybah. This is a reference to Al-Imam Al-Mahdi. Say if you're disconnected from your Imam, if you lose direct access with your Imam, then what are you going to do? Al-Imam Al-Kadhim is telling his Shia, what are you going to do? This loss is very difficult, brothers and sisters. It is extremely difficult. And the believers, the most difficult thing for them in the time of ghaybah is the fact that they've been orphaned from the Imam of their time. Even though the Imam is spiritually with us, yes, the Imam is physically present on this earth. In one hadith, the Imam says, إِنَّا غَيْرُ مُهْمِلِينَ لِمُرَاعَاتِكُمْ وَلَا نَاسِينَ لِذِكْرِكُمْ وَلَوْلَا ذَلِكَ لَنَزَلَ بِكُمُ الْأَوَاءُ وَلَاصْطَلَمَكُمُ الْأَعْدَاءُ. He says, we do not forget you, O my followers. The Imam is saying, we forget him. We forget him very easily. But the Imam says, I don't forget about you. Had it not been for that, realize that your enemies would have uprooted you. They would have exterminated you. And it's with the blessings of Al-Imam Al-Mahdi that for 1,100 years, the followers of Ahlulbayt continue to survive, despite their enemies, despite all those evil actions against them. The Imam alayhi salam is with us. He sees our actions. He observes what goes on with us. So this is the second type of test, that we are disconnected from our Imam. Imagine if you could go to your Imam, ask him, oh Imam, what should I do? I have so many challenges. The East and the West are doing this to us. ISIS is doing this. What do? We don't have that direct access to the Imam. This is a difficult test. And the third type of test, Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib describes beautifully in one hadith, Al-Asbagh ibn Nabata, he says, I went to Ali ibn Abi Talib. I saw him, he was looking on the ground, depressed, thinking of something important. I told him, oh Ali, what are you doing? What's going on with you? He said, I was thinking about the 11th descendant from my progeny, who was the Mehdi. And I was thinking about his ghaybah, his occultation, and the hayra, and the confusion, and the doubt that will happen during his occultation. Because of this confusion, many people will lose their faith. They will go astray. They shall be misguided. I am thinking about that. In another hadith, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he says, the ghaybah of the qa'im shall be prolonged so much, such that most of the people who used to believe in him, they will no longer believe in him. They will lose that iman. They will say, where is he? If he was there, he would have appeared by now. Then the Imam says, Allah will test you, O Shia. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will test you. You will capsize just as a ship capsizes into the water. You seen the ship? How it turns and sinks and capsizes? He says this is what will happen to the Shia. Except for the very few. وَلَتَدْمَعَنَّ عَلَيْهِ عُيُونُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. As for those true believers, they will shed their tears on the Imam of their time, on the Mehdi. Only those who have a true covenant with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will secure them the faith and will secure them the iman. This is the most difficult type of test. And we see this, brothers and sisters, in many societies where we see the followers of Ahlulbayt, day after day they are losing their faith. This is very unfortunate. And Imam Baqir alayhi salam, in one hadith, he says, Allah will test you in a way that you will see some of the believers in the morning they have iman, at the end of the night they've lost their iman. It goes within a day. And we're seeing this in many societies. And you know where I'm referring to. We see this in many parts of the world. That's happening. Many are losing that faith. Many are losing that iman because Allah wants to purify the heart. Just as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala purified the companions of Prophet Nuh. After all those years, after all those difficulties, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also purifying us. It's difficult, very difficult, absolutely. But this is the path. If we want true salvation, we have to remain firm, brothers and sisters. We have to be cautious, vigilant. If you protected your faith, alhamdulillah, what about your children? What about them? Can you imagine 50 years from now what the state of the world will be with respect to iman? If I don't actively, day and night, work to secure the faith of my children, you think 20 years from now, 30 years from now, they will have the same iman that I have in Imam Al-Mahdi? This does not come for free. It's very difficult to keep that. Let's not be amongst those companions of Nuh who lost their faith because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested them. Or not like Bani Israel who were tested with the ghaybah of Prophet Musa alayhi salam. But remember that the greatest reward, brothers and sisters, is given to those who remain steadfast and patient during the ghaybah, because Allah knows it's the most difficult test. In one hadith, the Imam says, those who die during the ghaybah and they remain patient and they hold on to their faith are like those whose blood is spilled in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In another hadith, Al-Imam alayhi salam, he tells Fudayl, Ya Fudayl, the one who dies waiting for the Imam and has those good actions, then realize that this person is like the one who will be in the army of Al-Imam Al-Mahdi ajjalallahu ta'ala farajah. Al-Imam Zayn Al-Abidin alayhi salam, he says, the one who stays firm in his iman during the ghaybah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give him the reward of 70,000 shaheeds from the shuhada of Badr and Uhud. That's the reward that Allah will give them. In another hadith, Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, when he speaks about the ghaybah, he said it'll be prolonged so much. There will be so much confusion, and it's as if I can see the Shia like cattle roaming around, wanting to eat something. Like the cattle, you know, they roam around in order to get something, to find some grass, but they will not find it. Whoever manages to keep his faith and protect his heart from being hardened during the time of the ghaybah, Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib says, he will be with me in paradise, because of the difficulty of the test, brothers and sisters. It's extremely difficult.
فرزند حیدر